Fancy. Good.
Okay, Nicole, it's 11:02. I can do roll call to establish quorum to start your meeting.
Yes, please.
Okay, Nicole Green,
Aye.
Justin Van Zerber,
Yes.
and Lenita Mims.
Yes, I'm present.
All board members are present. Thank you.
Welcome, everybody, to Policy and Budget Subcommittee meeting. Today is May 19th. I'm gonna go ahead and get started with the agenda, so welcome. The first item on the agenda, of course, is welcome, introductions and announcements. So I'll start with the subcommittee members. My name is Nicole Green. I am the chair for policy and budget, and vice chair for CAP.
Go ahead.
I am Lenita Mims. I am the secretary for policy and budget. I sit on the CAB and that's it.
Justin Van Zerber, Vice Chair of Policy and Budget.
And we'll go to staff.
Garyana, you can introduce yourself from ORJ.
Hello, my name is Garyana Youngblood, and I am an intern at the Office of Reentry and Justice.
And I am I am Monique Tate with the Office of Reentry and Justice.
Okay, and then
We have Crawford.
Vince
Crawford
Gordon.
Carpenter, I'm a CAB member.
Hi, Crawford. Hi, Crawford. I can't see if we have anybody else.
We do. We have Susan. Susan, you can introduce yourself. Susan, can you hear us? We'll come back to Susan. I know Susan. I think her last name is Wood, but I'm not sure. And Susan is with she often helps with the was it hip? Anyway, she'll come back and introduce herself. So
You wait, Kip? Is that what you said? Yep.
yeah, HIPAA or HIP. What's the
That-
committee that you sometimes you would go to, Nicole? I know you go to a lot of them. Anyway, we'll come back to Susan so she can
Okay.
introduce herself.
Okay, thank you for that. And welcome again, everybody. So next, any announcements? Any announcements from the board members? Off the agenda, right? Off the agenda, yes, thank you. No. Any announcements from anyone on Zoom? Hearing none, I can't see if there's any other hands on the.
No hands.
So going to the second item on the agenda, which is for public comments on any items under the jurisdiction of Community Advisory Board and not on the agenda. No. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes from 21st, Policy and Budget Subcommittee meeting. It is attachment 1, pages 4 through 6, so we'll take a second to kind of look that over. So we have Justin with a motion, we have a second. We have a second.
Was that Lenita who did the second?
Yes.
Okay. All right, any public comments? Probably not. But you can ask if there are any public comments, Nicole.
Any public comment?
Okay, I can do the roll call for the vote.
Okay.
Okay, Nicole Green,
Aye.
Justin Manzerber,
Aye.
and Lenita Mims.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. So moving on to the next
Hello,
one.
can you hear me?
Hi, Susan. Yes, we were
Hi,
asking if you could
sorry.
introduce yourself. No worries.
Yeah, I'm working from home, so the equipment's not working quite right.
Okay.
I am the departmental fiscal officer for the public defender. And yes, I used to be the coordinator for the HIP program, which is the Holistic Intervention Partnership Program.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got stumbled on HIP. But anyway, so you're now with the, Susan, what's your last name? Is it Woods?
Woodhouse, WOOD House.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm
right.
still with the public defender, but no longer with HIP.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So moving on to, the next item for discussion is discuss the PPP and PPC meeting regarding the 8109 excess funds. So, I'm really excited about today because as I know that I have a lot of points here that I would like to go over. So, I joined the CCP meeting and PPC meeting, and I mean, have, as Patrice mentioned on there, is I'm really excited about that they are not only looking at the two recommendations, they're actually looking at all of them. So, housing, employment, behavioral health, and pre-release. It's amazing to see how far we've all come, and especially knowing that I've been here for our third year with Parker and to see that actually finally these recommendations are being looked at. And at the CCP meeting, the conversation that was had was just amazing, like feedback and how the approval that they're giving and just the whole conversation in the room that they're actually looking at what work the CAB has done. So I talked to Patrice the other day and have some key points that she'd like for us to think about. Also with the PPC meeting, I was so excited to see community people actually show up at the meeting and they've actually read what we proposed and people are actually excited. So I'm really giddy about it because I'm like, it's to see something that's been on recommendation for years, and then finally it's like, okay, look at what we, it's here. So, it's, and again, this is a reference to those 8109 excess funds. So there's some key things that we now have to think about. It doesn't really change a lot of what our goals are, but it will turn it a tad bit. So I am gonna go down, bear with me because I have to type up. So one of the key things, in reference to the feedback from that meeting is, for us to think about is how does this 15 billion, it's now us for us to look at these recommendations, because remember, it's only a one-time fund, right? So we have to think about how does this 15 million help? Does it help or complicate our budget recommendations for the next year? Right? So depending on how this money is going to be allocated, how is that going to affect it? So our next CCP meeting that's coming up is now to talk about the implementation of that, and I have some key points about that a little bit later. But how are they going to divvy this money out? How do they think that the funding should go to housing and employment? What does that look like? How is it going to be implemented? And how is the funds going to be available to access? Is it going to be through a regular RFP, or are they going to follow a more of a managed direct type of process? And again, I'll talk about that in a second. So a couple of things that we have to keep in mind is that, again, those that are applying for this, it'll be one-time funding. So think about how are they going to continue that, right? Depending on how they roll it out, if they roll it out as an RFP, then maybe those that are already in the community capacity, or if they open up another management, then that allows for people that may not have never used the funding to come in and come with new ideas, but how are they going to continue on, right? So those are things to think about. So when we're looking at our budget, actually, where can we find funding within the budget that could probably help towards that? And then tell me to slow down if I go. Because I'll skip them, and you guys, I'll type this out. And for us to look at places like, are there funds that we probably allocate to support programs moving forward? If it is opened up for other people to come, right? So just things for us to kind of think about as we go further. Also, another part is our workshops that we have. They agree with it. One thing I will be on the next to think about is when they roll this out, what recognition people give it. I really believe that, before they jump into saying where the money should go, that if these current programs need to be reviewed and analyzed, kind of figure out where the gaps are, right? Then it might be come back to the table and say, okay, based on what we have, there's gaps here, more money can be used in these areas, or is there room to come in? So I'm prepared at the next meeting that, what's been talked about is I really highly recommend work groups or some individual to come and evaluate what's already being done and getting the opinions of individuals in those certain sectors like housing and employment, and to allow someone from CAP to get part of the conversation and the community to better feedback. So that's something I don't know really want to say on that meeting, but depending on what's been said, that's something I'm thinking I'm going to talk to guys propose. Because that still leaves me at square one. How do we determine where money should be allocated if no one is looking at what's in place now to identify where the gaps are and to identify where the money should be used? I personally feel like if the money is just divvied out, we're going to continue on that involved circle and things will not be changed. So that I'll stop there because I do want to leave that open to kind of talk about that with you too, because I will be at that meeting. I get your feedback. What do you think around that area as well?
My question.
I have several.
Okay. First is, do we have time to do an evaluation before we spend the money out? Spend the money out the record. Because I know everything has time, right? So do we have the time to do an evaluation for the money that's spent out? I am in agreement with doing an evaluation on the program we have now that we support. And trying to fill some of the one-time gaps in there we not have. So allocating some of it to them, regardless about what happens in the future, because I know we do have some programs that have that.
Right,
And they always say that, right?
right.
So being able to give them something out of that, some kind of allocation, but I do agree that we need that.
To answer that first question from what I was looking at, one of the things that maybe proposed is either that maybe. Because that's one of the things we're asking. And I do agree that a lot of our programs have gaps, but they never. So it's a process to be in place to be able to identify what are the gaps that you are experiencing, where that money is out. Where is it going to go? And then once you get that one time, how are you going to continue with what you're trying to do? And as we're looking at it, how would we get, is there a way that it can be supported from the budget with that? All right. Okay.
You're right.
I'm trying.
No, I think this is great. I think for the update, I really appreciate it. I think did a great job kind of spreading around. Appreciation there. I think I'm struggling to see the added value of this work evaluation piece when CAB has been consistently doing that for the past few years, and that's what led to this recommendation of these 5 priorities. And so I think for me, it would be helpful to understand what additional information are you hoping to gather through that approach that hasn't been documented through the work that you've been doing.
So to address that one, the current surveys and recommendations are done with CPOs. The work that we're looking to is outside of that. So that's with counties, that's with neighborhood health, that's with H3. So when programs and services look at the data, that's not the county program. That makes sense? Yeah. We want to be able to see, we have information from our recommendation with CBOs or sanitary. Now we want to reach out and figure out what the work groups from, like, for example, for housing H3, but gaps are facing, find out what areas where funding can probably perform. allocated, properly allocated. So we already have some data from the CEO,
Yeah.
but now we're gonna go past that and kind of look at the actual county base. Am I saying it right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally, but isn't that, like, we're doing that this year within this group, right? Or we're
Kinda.
bringing them in.
Kind of sort of, that's gonna change a little bit. No, this is new, and I came up with that with you guys. So the county partners, part is something that, we honestly kind of just thought of when we all done it. But that was the piece that was just missing, that it wasn't, I mean, we've had a few of them come and do presentations like employment, but we never really looked at, in depth and asked that question about what, how their services actually not benefit, but help the reentry population and where they're seeing gaps. And we noticed that, actually, we noticed that last year during the budget, we did not feel that we can make any type of recommendations based on the budget, because
Excuse me, Nicole. Sorry to interrupt you, but we're having difficulties hearing you all. I noticed it briefly, but Crawford just mentioned it to me. Is it possible maybe the speaker that's in the middle, maybe if, as you guys speak, you can speak into the speaker? I don't know if that'll help. I'm just guessing. It is on and it's paired. It's just the sound, the quality of the sound is not clear. Right, Crawford? Because I noticed it too, and I thought maybe it was just me.
Correct. It's like you're in an echo chamber today, and that wasn't the case yesterday. At least on my end. Oh, good. Maybe Justin can help us out.
Is this
Okay,
is
now, yeah.
it's very loud?
Now that's better.
but that's the speaker over there, the TV, the speaker on the table, the one on the table is not.
I wonder if I should swap the speakers. I would have to, you can swap them, Justin, but I may have to go through the pairing process. I can come in there. I'll be over there in a minute.
Hello.
It says your default microphone.
Can you guys hear them? No. Okay, that's fine. So this one,
Battery,
oh, you think so?
because it was completely black.
Oh. Let's see, hopefully,
Can I turn this one off?
no, I think it's working.
There's the echo. Oh, that's her. That's your. Okay.
Ask them if you guys can hear them.
Crawford.
Susan, can you hear us?
Monique, can you
Anybody?
hear us on the headphone?
Anybody hear me?
Okay, it's a lot better.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Awesome, thank you, Monique.
So a short answer to your question, no, we didn't. There's something we didn't do, we didn't look at any of those,
Hi, how are you? Oh, you want to check in today? Okay. Okay,
So, yeah.
it's up to you. Come now. Wait, let me make sure I'm muted.
You're not.
No, you're
Oh,
not.
I'm not. Sorry, you guys.
That's okay. I can't. That's fine.
Somebody met me in the hallway. Okay, I'm gonna mute myself. You guys can proceed, but the sound is fine now.
Yeah, is it better?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I make the point about, so just as an example, right, I'm here, I'm looking for services for my husband, right? And a part of what I'm trying to do is get myself prepared. So nobody that I have found in Contra Costa County has family support, free support, so like before we leave. So like this money can go to a couple different agencies to set up free support groups for families. Right? And so I'm hoping that actually happens, but that's just an example of where the gap is. That is a gap here in Contra Costa County.
Yeah.
And And so people are coming home and the families are not prepared. They haven't been, for lack of better words, taught how to handle or deal with the person coming home may not have kind of relationship with the family that's different than they have been, or that's gonna be their support team in a long time. And so I think some of the money is used in services where they're bringing families to the table and saying, okay, we're gonna work with these people who are not going to be returning in the next month, and this is what we're gonna do. And you have to support group of people who or some form of, you don't have to be a support, some form of service where there is a couple different hubs called the participatory defense. They have hubs across California where families get into the hub and they help you prepare paperwork and documents for your loved one who is returning to go back to court for the sentence. That could be a part of what we look at. So those are just some of the gaps that happen to be very present now.
So you came in right at the right time.
So I'm all for continuing the evaluation. I think you define that this is something that's missing in our previous years. And so, yeah,
And it doesn't have to be an extensive evaluation, it can be maybe a survey monkey where. Okay.
Well, because so you gotta think of
sounds
like,
like the county wants to spend money on it.
but you have to think of it in this manner, that's already been done. Right,
Okay.
so we have to think outside the box, so. It's gonna continue to be a revolving door, so there's already surveys of it, right, there's already being reports that are going to track the data. But it won't, so the more I think about the work groups, really sitting down at the table with all the key people and saying, okay, what are you experiencing as gaps? How can we find them? Because if you think about all the calls that we have, for example, someone like, you know, the table say, here's what I'm experiencing, that's what's not being heard.
Right.
So if you think about it, the reports and everything is there, but this issue is still existing, so the goal of the work group is getting key people in the county together that works in that particular area. If it's housing and employment, the fifth table, well, okay, here is what our program offers, here's what we're seeing. Everyone has a different perspective, here are the gaps, how can we better utilize funding or programs that help the population? Because what's happening now is not working.
But what I'm hearing is two different things. So what I'm hearing is that you want to look into the county departments to understand these gaps. But what I'm hearing over here is more of that kind of individual or community voice that needs to be elevated in order to inform these. And so,
So the work groups could include. The work.
so I'm all for that.
Right, so what I was in the work group is just not to have, what we're asking, for, we just don't want just the community members, to just them by themselves. We want it to be able to have an A Street person, a CAB person, a
I
community
love
person.
that. I'm
So
all-
it's not just right now, if you think about it, that's who's at the table right now by themselves anyway, they're not including
Right,
the community, you're not including the ones that have the voice. We're asking them to be a part of that conversation.
cool.
Okay.
Great.
Let's go. Okay.
Can I make a comment, Nicole? So, I had to step away for a minute, but I'm back. But I heard you talk about an evaluation or survey. Keep in mind, we do have a data and evaluations team here at ORJ, and they can certainly help you with that. They just recently created a survey for programs and services, which you all would, I'll send you the link to it because it'll be going out soon and it'll give you an idea. Because oftentimes you would review their survey results. It might serve some of the same purposes. That's what I'm trying to convey. So I will blind copy you all and send you the link so that you can see it. And I believe Crawford and I talked about us sharing it with the overall CAP too. Maybe we could just simply do that, Crawford, on the next CAP agenda. It could be shared, the link can be shared, and then the entire board can discuss ideas about it. What do you think about that, Crawford?
That sounds good. Excellent suggestion.
Okay, so I'll do that instead. I won't blind copy just you all, but I'll send it out with the next CAB meeting, or I can still blind copy you if you want to see how they formatted it. And that was with the help of Christina Jackson here in ORJ, as well as Denise, our data and evaluation team.
Thank you. So I guess, a homework takeaway, and if Monique is okay, I guess you can all send it to her. And if you are available, join the meeting, but helping us to think of ways to help shape how the fixing meeting is going to be used. I know that there are two options that may present, and I know there's something too. And one of the ones that I'm really looking for is a title for I'm talking about right now. That's pretty much it. So, yeah, there's anything else?
Who's leading that? Is that?
Yes. I know it'll be origin.
And this is for funds for fiscal year,
This is the excess funds, the 8109 excess. funds.
right, but what's the timeline that they're trying to?
Well, that's what the next meeting is going to establish. So the first meeting was just the, everyone's okay with what we're recommending, and now the next CCP meeting is to talk about the implementation, what's the timeline. So we'll have more data on what it really looks like.
Yeah.
From a budget perspective, we'll still be able to go forward, just have to kind of think about after figuring out this. So that doesn't affect what we're doing. It's just that we have to keep in mind while that's in process, how does that affect our budget recommendations in a positive way or a negative way? And then I have another put it for the rest of the agenda of so while that's in place, those are things that we need to think about. Based on how they decide to do this or what data we're getting from it, how is that going to streamline our recommendations for 2025? I don't want to jump the gun on the agenda, so I'll because it's kind of all tied together, I'm like, but
The only other piece that I have with regard to this topic is, I heard kind of the sustainability of funding and that being a priority. Is there a way for us to recommend, whether that's a percentage or a certain amount that is utilized for like one-time fixed costs? And while the others would be utilized for either piloting programs to fill those gaps or bolstering programs, because what I see coming from like the nonprofit lens, it's really, really challenging to get an agreement for 1 year and build momentum and community buy-in and then not have that funding available that following year. And so I would recommend that our group tries to deprioritize programs that don't have that longer term trajectory or opportunity for sustained funding.
And that could be a part of what we're evaluating as well.
Definitely.
one thing I did like that they discussed on the meeting, and I did leave it out, and I apologize. They talked about what they're seeing in San Francisco. And one of the recommendations are what was brought up about individuals that can't sustain the program to keep going. And how there's some options in San Francisco where the county, for example, I was using housing, which was the example that was used. They pay for like the property for that part of it, and also give the program. They pay for majority of the housing part of it or the programmatic part of it, so the programs can continue that don't have the proper plan to keep going. And it's not coming out of the pocket of the program. So like, for example, if someone is awarded $3 million for housing, they have to use money out of there to get the property to be able to house people. So they're saying San Francisco is not only giving the, and if I'm saying it wrong, please correct me, but they're not only giving money now, they are actually, the county is paying for some of the not the bill, but the money so that the program itself can actually continue to run. So I know they're looking at San Francisco in different ways that they're doing, or just outside partners to have, different ideas. But it was nice to hear them talk about different options. Like Contra Costa County is not tapped into at all. So I mean, it was a real broad conversation. It was amazing to see everything they were bringing to the table. About these different recommendations. So I agree with both of your points and your feedback. Now, question to that. Now, when you is that something that we'll look at for like the actual when we're looking at the budget itself, areas of where we can.
No, I think this is more for the 15 million
Okay,
of excess fund.
okay,
Because when we're looking at the ongoing budget, those are sustained funds
right,
that we can use year over year. But this, if I'm understanding correctly, is like a pot of money that we're looking to expend
correct,
in X period of
correct, okay.
And I'm also looking at the next, CCP meeting. It says on here Wednesday, the 2nd. But the
It's a
second.
Friday, it's not on Wednesday. Oh, it's Friday. It is on the Friday.
Okay, I'll fix that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
And also the next community, CAB meeting, it says it's May 11th, but it's actually June 8th. Is it June 8th or is it June 15th?
Yes, you're absolutely right about that too. Thank you. I'll fix that.
Hey, down page.
Well, no, because I want to put the next
I'm just messing
meeting
with
on my
you.
calendar before I leave here. And that's why I'm trying to make sure I get here so that I can block the time off, because now that I have a job, remote 100%.
Right.
I could do 4. It is.
Yeah, I'm gonna go in person. Is it here? Patricia, I didn't go to the last one. Where is the CCP meetings?
I'm not sure. The CCP meeting, the last one was here in that room you're in,
Okay, I thought
but
so.
I don't know if it will always be located there.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions about that agenda item number 4? And again, if there's anything that, anybody think of when you walk out of here, I mean, if you can join, great. I'll be there, but just, be prepared to, you know, if they ask us questions, then we'll definitely, talk. And this goal is just to be there to make sure that we can help shape how the funds will be used. It's really urgent us to do that from something standpoint, because they are. So we want to make sure that we continue to support CAB's recommendations so that it doesn't go. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I plan to be in the room. Any comments from any public comment or anyone from Zoom has any questions or comments? Hearing none, so finalizing the county staff meeting document. So that's gonna be attachment 2 on page 7 to 24. Before we jump into the actual attachment, a few things, will change due to the CCP and the PPC meeting and one of them one before recommendations. So what, we're being asked is now excuse me, instead of having the community network providers come to our policy and budget subcommittee, they'll come to. So instead of the individuals that we're reaching out to, we're going to have them come to full CAB. So for those that you've already spoke to, it's going to change from our meeting to full CAB. Because I know you've already got some percent of all that. And it's just coordinating, but if they said it's going to be June, then it will be that full CAB. So the idea was, since, because at that time when we thought about this, it was more of us trying to, from a subcommittee standpoint, but now that our recommendations move forward, which we think is a great idea to have full CAB, still present the presentation there. But then as we come up with some key questions that we want to ask them, and do that with the full CAB, so that everyone can give, it could be everyone can CAB and get their feedback
For July,
June and July.
June and July.
Yeah.
And
So we're gonna do the presentation. What?
Yeah, if needed, I think, and I said June and July, because I think, or, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe on the last CAB meeting. Lot,
I only have one person.
oh,
It's the employment and they're coming in July.
okay, so I know I heard July, so that's why I picked, I think we went with June initially, that everyone come here.
But they're on.
So when I heard you say July, I just said June, I just grouped it, I didn't have to come and ask you, I
Yeah.
just kind of grouped it together.
So then I guess that's a question, so. How, this is what a little bit, I'm struggling with, like, how are we supposed to collaborate on that document outside of?
That's the same question that I have. And that's the question that I wanted to propose to Monique and Patrice, and not just that, but when I have questions, like being able to ask you about the questions and talk. How can we do that with the Brown Act, Monique? Like, we only get a chance to really collaborate at this meeting. And it's really not enough time to kind of prepare and prep because we can't really talk to each other outside of hereabouts.
I think it's only if it's more than 3 people, right? If it's all 3 of us.
Because,
Two, two is a quorum. So what I would suggest is that if you have revisions to the document, you can send it to me and I can update and I can line off whose input, I can color code it, Justin is proposing this, Nicole is proposing this, Lanita's proposing this. And then, like have a document that we're working on and then just blind copy you all. And then I can make updates. Now, keep in mind that this is a fluid document, so it's always changing and it's a guide, so it will change. So you're using this document to suit your needs. I mean, I feel like the document itself the skeleton is there, but you're revising the sections to make it pertinent to the agencies you're talking to. So, go ahead.
Let me just clarify. So, the document itself, we don't have to have no mention. It's on this, we have time. The focus on number 5 is what's changing is we're not going to be bringing them here. So at this point, for them going to do in July,
right,
we'll talk about and then come up with questions between us 3. We can continue to work on it. So.
oh, I'm not worried about this,
Yeah,
I'm worried about the power.
Yeah, so I think it'll be more of us figuring out what we want, assigning a task to each one of us, because I know you're going to put together. And then it's like you said, fit in the side, it's kind of like in school, we each work on it, send it to her.
But like that, I don't think is realistic to leave right here. So I don't know that we should be.
The document or
The PowerPoint,
okay,
because if we're all collaborating, like, say we break it into 3 sections. And
okay,
you send your slides in a week and you're in 10 days and I'm in 10 days.
okay.
Then we don't have the time for us to go back and review it ahead of presenting it to these people. And I think it'd be very important for us to look as polished as we can
Okay.
when these department heads are visiting.
So what we can do is,
You align.
oh, no, I agree.
Okay.
I agree with you. Decisions that were made were based on what I can do without my TV.
Right.
So, everything is not really set in stone, and to give a quick update, one of my individuals was out until June, and I have to call next week, so then what I'll do is I'll post it in the meeting in July.
Okay.
Because I haven't really said it yet, so I still have flexibility around the meetings, like I said, and yours is in July anyway.
Right.
So good,
Okay.
so we'll just take off June, which kind of opens it up for, I'll leave it at the end for the homecoming project. For June, so, our goal can be for our presentation, the deadline can be for July, so that's perfect. So I just wanted to have that discussion with you both, because I just put those ones out. So it's hard trying to figure out something I can't really ask you.
Yeah.
So I figured I would bring it back today, so we can shoot for July when I talk to, have a meeting with H3 next week on Monday. And then behavioral health, Susan, she's out until the end of May. And so I'm waiting for her assistance. A date for me in June. And so, yeah, I was worried too, okay, that's kind of really close, but if I had to, I'll have to figure it out. So we're agreeing with that
I
one.
haven't even talked to mine yet. I just got them.
Sorry, I was thinking about you, I was like, but it was funny, because I was behind as well with the CCP and PPC meeting. And I reached out to Patrice, not Patrice, Monique, and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't had a chance. Then I find out you're done, and then I'm like, I want to be like this. So let's see here. So we decided on that. So our goal would be again, the goal is they want us to talk publicly about our ideas so that it can be heard amongst, county members and other programs, and things like that, or what CAB and the community is feeling. That's one of the reasons why they want to bring to the CAB. We need to create questions that we'd like to ask. And if we're gonna bring all three there, there needs to be, and I have some examples. Another example would be for like employment, what are the employment gaps? What are all of the departments that were created for individuals that are part of the, just our reentry population? And what we mean by that is not just focused on anyone, what employment programs they have for those that are general population or parole, or whatever those cases may be. So it's asking, and so it's what other partners are there? So because we're asking for monies, recognition for money, not to be so focused on anyone not anymore, but to open it up for anyone that is just. And then for housing, an example is how many homeless are justice impacted or justice involved? And how does, for example, like H3, how do they identify who is in reentry and what services they currently have that are for reentry? So those are examples of questions that we can ask. So it's just coming up with questions for like adding to those, finding some questions for behavioral health, and then the other.
So then maybe if agreeable, we can come to our next subcommittee meeting with questions for the department that we're reaching out to.
Okay.
And then, Monique, I think this is the PowerPoint that I was trying to get my hands on last week.
Yeah.
So from my understanding, CAB had presented this information to CCP via PowerPoint.
Yes, they have I wasn't at the CCP, but they do have a PowerPoint. And this is the same one I'm thinking of, is the one that they also were working on with the OCEC, the Outreach and Community Engagement. And I could share that with you all if that's what you're requesting.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. And then that's the document that I can kind of edit ahead of us meeting next month. And then if we all come with questions, we can align on the questions. And then I can easily drop them in ahead of the July meeting. It's exciting.
Yes. Last part of that section, and just make a note, feedback that we want to get from them, where they see, where's the need, and where they feel changing.
What do they see? What is the need?
Well, yeah, what they see, like where they see, where they, and I talk to that, Lord, where they see the gaps are, and where they see this population, where they feel like the need is, and where they feel like changes will take place. And then again, when it comes to the document, I mean, we can definitely work on that, but I think there's some things.
I don't think we need to though.
We
Right?
don't.
We're not using it.
No, it's just the ongoing, so it kind of with the change, with the recent changes, we can actually leave this document the way it is, because it's pretty much just a template.
Right.
And then now the majority is focused on really delving the data. So,
Cool.
I agree. Any feedback from, anyone on Zoom? Somebody, I'm not sure if you got that, so the document pretty much in a sense is finalized because it's just a draft.
Yes.
It's a working document, so we need to leave that the way that it is. And our goal right now is to just get prepared. Our goal is to request for the county staff members to come to our July tab and use our June meeting to kind of come back with questions that we want to ask and work on finalize the PowerPoint and be prepared for July.
Okay, all right. So yeah, I'll send you all the PowerPoint that OCEC was reviewing. and they have talking points to help guide you with the information. Is that okay, Crawford? That's correct, right? I can send them that PowerPoint to use as a tool for them.
Yes,
Okay, and then I'll still send you the link to the survey just so you can look over it and give you ideas for your evaluation survey. And I can blind copy that information to you today.
Quick question for you. How many questions do you want to come up with? Because that's particular about we're gonna have to see how many,
And I just
So-
want to mention too, that there still is a muffling of the sound. It's still not 100% the way it normally is. Is that correct, you all? That's on the virtual?
Yes, oh,
I didn't hear her. What?
It's
No.
just when Nicole, it's just when Nicole turned and talked sideways, I think. You just have to talk out more, Nicole.
Okay, is that it? Okay, okay. So yeah, try to talk toward the speaker maybe.
Okay. So there's going to be 4. So we're gonna present our presentation, ask the questions, and then,
So trying to make eye contact.
yes, I can't help it. Ask the question, allow them to kind of talk about their programs. We've got to keep in mind that we have the other CAT members, so pretty much the whole meeting is will be around that. So we got to think about timing. I think we just come back and maybe that be our goal on our next meeting is how we want to plan that out.
Yeah, but I also think that the 3 questions that you came up with, are pertinent. So maybe it is just the 3 for each.
Yeah, maybe it's not department
It's just
specific.
simple, yeah. And they give time for them to express, and then time for the have them to ask questions if they come up with.
So we may want to add more in there because the feedback that we're trying to get is kind of like something I gave an example. Yeah. Really wanted to know. So I guess changing around, adding some, so adding a question to that section about what, read about, I'm sorry, give me a second. What are all the departments they have for just impacted? And that could be a question to ask all 3. Because we want to know that, like, do they have outside is 8109, right? What else do they have for just impact? Everyone's not 8109. So the reason for that is because we know that there's other programs. There's other funding outside of 8109. So a lot of these programs are providing support. Let's see if I can say it with my ear. They are providing support for just an impact that's not falling into 8109. That makes sense.
Yeah, so I think, go ahead.
No, it's not that.
Yeah. I think I'm losing a little bit of the vision,
Okay.
because what I've heard you say with regard to the CCP meeting is that theoretically, the next steps would be to engage with some type of work group and evaluation team that's going to be inclusive of these departments.
Right.
And so what is our goal within CAP that we're trying to accomplish by meeting with these people?
Okay, so in a nutshell, it's okay. So from a CAP perspective, we're trying to collect the data so that we can know how the funds to be used to make budget recommendations on where funding should be allocated for the next fiscal year, 2024, 2025.
So
And
not the 15.
we're doing 2 different things. We're doing 2 things. So let's erase the excess. Our initial goal of CAP
Right,
is to determine where funds should be allocated for 2025.
got it.
And where we were stuck last year is we didn't feel like we could make recommendations without looking at the current programs to figure out where the gaps are.
Got it.
That's the first thing. So either regardless of excess fund, we want to talk to these programs to find out
Beautiful.
what are they experiencing their gaps, so that we can come together and say, based on that and the survey, we feel like for this year, money should be moved this way.
Okay.
That makes sense? Now, luckily, there's happened to be this excess funding, so that's completely separate. So now that that fund is a one-time, that one-time available funding was there, CAB then came with their recommendations so that we can ask for that funding or propose that funding be used towards our recommendations. And just so happy, they're saying yes.
Right,
So not only are we working on our part of our 2025 budget, we can use that same recommendation to help persuade how the funding is gonna be used for the excess funding. Did I say it right? So I'm trying to, it's in my
No,
head,
and I'm following you.
I'm trying to read your facial expression.
Listening, it's probably not a good thing. So I think I understand that. I think I'm following you. What I think I'm failing to see is what is the information that we're gonna gather from these 4 individuals that we don't think is gonna be gathered through that evaluation or work.
So the thing is the evaluation and working process has been improved yet. So you have to separate the two. So it's kind of like we're working, so the
But what
goal
if
is.
it is? Like, what if we go down that pathway and we assume that it is gonna be approved and that over the next 3 to 6 months, they're gonna work on this process?
Right.
So what information do we want to get from the directors that we don't think would be included in that? Because I don't want us to like duplicate effort.
So due to timing, from my perspective, I don't think it's duplicated. And the reason for that is this meeting in July is it's coming from just the CAP perspective. Here's our recommendations, here are our survey, here's what the CBOs are saying.
Got it.
And it's initially to find out, yes, some of this data may, if they approve the work, which you are correct, some of this data may come out later on.
Yeah.
But it's for us to start now so that that makes sense for us,
Got it.
so that we can get the data.
Okay.
And that's a very good point, and maybe that's how we should tailor our questions.
Yeah.
Instead of going so in depth, I think if we come up with questions for July, is what I would want to know, and is really, what programs do you have for the just impacted? And not just AB 109, all of them, who else are you serving? And based on the recent events, COVID or whatever, what changes do you see? Where do you see gaps in your current services? Where would you like to see more support put in there? Because just from my own personal experience of working with programs, there's a lot of things that have happened where changing. So that's what I want to hear from them.
Yeah.
I believe there are some gaps in some programs when it comes to the just impacted individuals, and they may not have realized that. So that's what I'm hoping to gather from this meeting in July.
So looked at this as a meet and greet. So
Yeah.
here's
Yeah.
Adam, here's who we are, this is what we do.
Yeah.
Tell us what you do and what do you need from us? Right, and so that's why I thought we were bringing the 4 groups, the 4 heads into the CAB meeting, because that is wonderful information, and it gives a chance to see who we are and talk to us about what their needs could potentially come or are, right? The work group from the work group standpoint, how I understand that, if it's even approved, is that then we get to bring the community into the picture and have the community, the county, the CAB, and everybody in one.
Yeah.
So the community is welcome to come to the CAB meeting, right? But we never really have a lot of here. And you have some, but we don't have like a lot, and we don't have any. And correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, but I feel like we don't have any voices from the actual people who are reentering, and we don't have any voices from, well, we do have a content.
Well, kind of, but that was something that we talked about at the last it was brought up, and we would love that. But that is something that needs to be looked at, is how the community gets involved, because the more I'm outside, they don't know about these meetings, and it's available for the community, but they don't know about it. But I think the confusion is coming in reference to what we do as CAB and we're not excess funds. We don't usually have that.
Right.
So even though they seem like they're together, we have to be able to separate. So them coming to full CAB, they've already done that.
Okay.
Talk about who they are, they know who we are. Them coming to full CAB is for us to really dig in now about the recommendations. We've already done a PowerPoint with them. We already said, we're CAB, and we know everyone that's coming. We already talked to H3, we already talked to employment. We haven't said. So now we're bringing them back and saying, okay, here is our CAB recommendations. Here is what everyone is saying. Here is what's coming from the survey. Here's what the community members are saying. So now we're asking you these couple of questions. And so that's really, that's what it's about. Because now this year is about change now.
Right.
We've done all the talking before. So now we want to come to change. Now that excess, so that's just extra. That's something new. So it's the same thing, but it's not. And Jill, please jump in and help me if I'm wrong. But, so it,
No, you're right on. You guys are moving forward. You guys got to the point, you crossed the finish line, and then now you get to start up the next phase, which is what programs do they recommend be funded with these funds based on the approval from CCP and PPC on your recommendations, on the full breadth of your recommendations.
yeah, it will sound like, it will feel like we're coming back.
That's great. No, that's super helpful, and thank you for walking me through that. So I think my advice or recommendation to the group with regard to these questions is really honing in on that gap area like you were talking about, instead of creating an opportunity for them to talk about what's available now. Because from my experience in some of these meetings with department heads, if you create a platform for them to talk about what they're doing, they're just going to talk about what they're doing. And I don't know how much value that's going to bring to us if we're trying to create change.
Right.
And so I really think we should hone in on what that change could look like and what they want.
Well, and looking back at the data, right, that you collected from the CBOs, pointing to the data, saying this is where the needs are. Because
Right.
they may have programs that are already in place and that just nobody knows about.
Right, and that's why that question was there.
Uh,
So if we can tailor it to a sense where we won't allow them to keep on about it, it's just a straight question of what other programs that you have in-house that are available for just impact, not just 81 or not.
got it.
And that we don't want to know, and that we want to know
Yeah.
what programs, because there's other funding out here. That people don't know about that is available, and that's what we want to find out. Let's get in, adjust our.
Okay, awesome, love it.
You make me think.
That's why we're here, right?
I like your question. Any other feedback from those that are in the on the Zoom? Monique, I can't see if there's any hands raised or not.
I think they pop up.
Okay, goes to the top.
No, there aren't any hands raised. You're right.
Okay, so moving on. Moving on to the next item, which is to discuss the 2023 work plan. I brought this back because Patrice had a great recommendation for us that I did not think that, I don't think we thought about, because we've really been touring with trying to get this in place.
Yeah.
So one of the key things is looking, since we're working on our 24 and 25 years recommendations, and with all these changes that are occurring, do we want to add an item where we want to look at our current recommendations, meaning do we want to roll them over? Do we want to make adjustments to them? Do we want to leave them the way that they are, or do we want to add any to our CAP recommendations? Because the ones that are in place have been there for a while. So now that we have some momentum, we need to adjust or add it. Or we may still leave it the same way. So my response to that was a good one. I think about it. I know that as the programs and services, I believe they're coming up with a new survey or adding more to their survey, I think. Is that correct, Monique?
Can you
Or-
repeat that, please? I didn't hear you well.
The services, are they adding to their survey, or is it just the same questions? I believe they're changing some of it, correct?
Yeah, it's a new survey. Yes. Mhm.
So my response to that was, it could really depend on the survey results, right? If there is something that popped up that was different than what we already had. And I think based on how these online access funds are gonna be used and the changes that are in place, it may require us to make some adjustments. So should that be an item that we add to our curriculum? And
I thought that was already in there.
If it is, forgive me, because I didn't say it, but
So like goal 2 is review CBO and community needs as highlighted in the program and services subcommittee survey result.
so we're referring to our recommendations. Type out recommendation. So,
But don't we make them based off of the survey result?
right, but it's not a bullet on that, so are we gonna add a bullet saying that we're going to actually work on our, There's another item on it.
So
right now-
It was compliant.
You know, that was.
Definitely there.
Yeah, I think we should adequately say it. Cause we do wanna update them if they need to be updated.
Correct. And then, you know, based on what happened, we may need to make some adjustments to it because of these.
And to see if any of them have to.
Right.
Yeah.
So we should add that. Under go to,
I mean, isn't that the goal? And like all of the steps that we're taking are outlined below, but the goal is to make the policy and budget recommendation.
at that time on my phone call, when you feel like it was there.
I think it is here.
Because the goal is so this, you're right. I think it's just a little looking at. the
Yeah.
action item.
Well, we can make it an action item. Maybe the action item is to present updated recommendations to full council or something.
Yeah, just put it there.
Yeah, I think.
Put that there.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, we probably should.
So are you saying you want to add that to your work plan?
Yes.
Okay, can you repeat that? Because I did not hear you very well.
Where?
I think it was Justin who actually just said that.
Present updated recommendations to full cab body.
Okay,
the-
okay,
yeah.
that's clear. And
The
where
time-
would that go on your work plan?
Under goal number 2.
Yeah, like the second action step, maybe.
Okay, so create a new action step and that's what that will be. Okay, I can definitely update that.
And then the timeline would be when? Would that be
It would be.
November?
I would say, yeah, I would say end of. October, November.
Sure.
So November, October, November?
The survey results back.
I'm not sure yet. I know it's going out like very soon. So I think it'll come back. I want to say early June.
Yeah, I'll say October. Yeah, put October, November.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I guess it's fine with that.
And I think everything else we're working on is, we've been touching on each key action item. Do we need to update the, key action item on the goal number 1? For the RJOB where it says work today, meetings to resume 4/27? We take that off, or,
Yeah, we can take, this is what you're referring to, right?
yes?
Yeah, we can take that. I can take that off.
Crawford, go ahead.
Just a question on your timeline. Yesterday, we discussed at a programs and services and then at some of the other meetings. I believe you said October, November to get the recommendations to CAB. Is it possible to maybe get that done a little sooner? I know that may be pushing you, but we try to have the recommendations into the boilerplate or our guide prior to the ambassador meetings with the various county executive offices, as well as our supervisors. So it's, for example, we're going to attempt to get our meetings done by late September, October. Just wanted to throw that out. Maybe you could assist us or take another look at it. Or maybe that's something we'll have to think about, or you'll have to think about next year. Because we're trying to get the recommendations and our planning, most of it done, the survey, et cetera, so that we can present that information when our ambassadors go out. Just wanted to mention that, that's all.
So when would you need the recommendations for you?
Probably late August. How's that for you?
I mean, it's just us really reviewing, right? So if we want to make.
When will they be available to review?
I have to learn how to stop turning my head. Well, I mean, it really depends on when we get the survey results, right? Because it's based on that. So when those are, I mean, I feel okay with putting the deadline is August on there. I mean, it'd be, like you said, if we can't make any changes at that point, it would have to be next year that we do it. But it really depends on getting our results and have the time to review it.
This is Monique. I think August to October, August to September probably is doable, or you can start there. I mean, I think the results will come back fairly quickly because our evaluation team, they finished the survey and I think it's being sent out either today or yesterday. I can't remember, but I think the date to have it back is June 2nd. And they don't really take that long to analyze the information and come up with a, analyzation of the results. So that information should be here. If June 2nd is the deadline to receive it back, I would say August is plenty of time to have it. So maybe August through October or August, September,
It
something
needs to be
like that.
August, so
August.
it would actually be August, so
It's August, okay.
that we'll have to sit down and review it, so. Okay, so our July call will be, if we should have the survey results by then, so our July call will be at our the results of our recommendations and making any adjustments so that Crawford can have it. Is it end of August, Crawford, or the beginning of August?
End of August, and we'll just have to do a lot of moving and shaking. That's all.
So that actually give us July and our meeting on.
That's great. Because it'll include the-
Yes. And then we'll put the onus on the OCEC committee. They'll be up to it, standing committee, to put that kit together or the guide, and so that we put the new recommendations in there. So we'll make it happen. If you meet that August deadline, we'll make the other deadline happen. How's that?
Okay.
That's a lot of confidence there.
We got it.
I believe in
We
that.
working with our office, we got it.
Oh, and by the way, if all of this doesn't happen, since Monique will be leaving, we'll blame it on her. She won't be
I knew
around.
that was coming.
Hey, we gotta pass the blame on to somebody. So if it doesn't happen, we know who to hold accountable.
Okay, I received that.
Are there any other questions or public comment regarding the work plan? Do we have to vote on that, Monique?
No, it's already been voted on. I mean, I could just do a consensus that you all, well, let's do this. I'll add it on and then we will, once I update it, maybe the next meeting, if you want to review it and vote on it, you can do that. Because you can review the finished product and then vote on it per this discussion. So I think that let's do it that way.
Okay. I'm not seeing any questions or any public comment, any questions on the committee? No?
So do you guys want to discuss any of the other information on your work plan? I mean, it's totally up to you. It's 12/12. But I know you talked about go to, but there are other items. You certainly don't have to, but it's up to you all.
No, I had made a comment in reference to goal one, I believe that we've been touching on.
Mhm.
The items on here are ready. You don't have to go through each one. I mean, because it's still ongoing, so just to go down for the sake of time. For example, goal one, key action item, collaborate and assess with work groups. Ultimately, work on with these new changes with CCP and the 81 on access fund, so that's getting worked on. We're doing a review, research and data findings. Identifying gaps in CC County criminal justice. So we work where everything's actually being touched and worked on. I don't believe there's any updates, but I'll ask
Okay.
you.
If someone's talking, we can't hear you.
I agree.
Okay, yeah, it's muffled, Lanita.
Don't turn your
That's
head.
okay. No worries.
Any other questions or comments?
I do have one more question. I just want to make sure I have the right thing for the tab in the next couple of years. I know we just did but the next cab meeting is Thursday.
June 8th is the next general cab meeting, June 8th, Thursday, June 8th. And I will submit an amended agenda for this meeting showing the correct next date. So the next cab meeting is Thursday, June 8th. And then I'll fix the CCP meeting, which was Friday. The next one, I'm sorry, it's Friday, June 2nd. Jill, since you're on this call, do you know if the CCP, is it 10:30 or 9? I know we had a lot of changes from the previous.
Yeah, it's been 10:30 for a while now, so
Okay.
that's what we're gonna go with.
Okay, I'll change that to 10:30 for June 2nd, Friday. And the location will be to be determined. It may be here at 50 Douglas, but we'll confirm that too.
And then for the programs and services subcommittee meeting, is it Thursday, June 15th?
Yes, it is.
And the policy and budget subcommittee is Friday, June 16th.
Correct. Mhm.
So I'll be back in LA from June 11th through June 17th. So is it possible for me to get on Zoom for both of those meetings?
Certainly you can for programs and services, but for the policy and budget, we'll have to talk to Patrice about that because we have to look at the memo where it states whether it's a just cause, emergency, or just a simple absence. So we can talk about that offline with Patrice's input. Is that okay?
Or do we want to move that date?
I couldn't hear you, Justin. What'd you say?
Said, do we want to just move the date?
Oh, change the date for the next meeting?
Yeah.
You certainly can do that as a group.
Well, but I was gonna ask, I missed that. I was looking at a different calendar thing. What was the question about missing a meeting or joining virtually?
Lanita will be out of town and she wants to possibly join virtually for the next policy and budget subcommittee on Friday, June 16th.
Yeah.
She'll be,
I mean, yeah, you can just notify them now and then it's just cause if you don't want to post the address of where you're at. Then it's just, yeah, it's a just cause you're traveling.
so she would be absent, right?
No, she could be present. It's a
Oh, she
just
could be
cause.
present.
She's traveling and it's really none of our business what she's traveling for.
Okay.
So I have another question. So every second week of the month is my LA work trip. So I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. I have to be in LA 5 days out of every month. So we chose the second month. So the second month, last month fell on our cab meeting. So that's why I wasn't here because I was in LA. The second one, the second week, this for June falls on the policy week. So are there, I guess my question is, if the next month.
You
falls-
have a limit of 2 just causes each calendar year. So you all might want to talk about rescheduling the meetings that don't conflict with your work event.
Jill, is that, her, like, cab as a whole, or she has 2 for the subcommittee and 2 for the full body?
Everything is separate. So each subcommittee is separate and the numbers count separately.
Great, thank you.
So are we trying to move it? Yeah.
So I think what I'm hearing is that we would need to move it permanently. Is that?
Well, I'm trying to look at the calendar here to see. But, cause I can,
So do we want to come back and maybe you can review your?
yeah, let me see if I can move mine.
And if not, then
Mine.
send
I know I can't move it for June, that's it.
Yeah,
But I can see if I can move it for July, because it looks like for July. Our academy would be the 13th of
Mhm.
July,
correct.
and I would be gone. So if I stay with the same schedule that I have. So that would be 2 meetings that I'm in
Right.
for CAP. So let me see if I can move that week to the 3rd week. Then I will
Thinking
miss
it's us.
the policy. Yeah,
So I would say go through and review, because I wanted to and find some dates from, but I don't know.
okay.
So I would say go through it and review like you did now. And then let Monique know, and then she'll choose the emails, so I was okay, here is the month that we need another day, and kind of, okay, figure out our life, my life too.
So I get right. No, I'm sorry to create this.
Oh, you're good.
chaos, but I love my job.
Yeah,
But
and we love you
definitely,
being a
Yes.
participant, so.
but definitely for the 16th, you probably. Yeah, this, I already have.
Well, you can go, you can join virtually, Jill said.
Oh, I can join her. Okay.
So, are you able to move your work stuff to like the 4th week? Then it would.
No, I can't move it to the 4th or can't move it to the 1st week or the 4th. I can, because that's my president is in, our president is in town the 2nd, 3rd week. So I have to be there one of the weeks. President.
Got it. Yeah, but I'm flexible too, as long as I know in advance, so.
Good stuff. So, next item on the agenda, unless any other questions? Right, this. Okay, it's next steps. I'm so sorry, I lost my motion, I thought that quickly.
We're all
So-
scheduling our department heads.
Correct, so next step, correct, it's, what you just said, schedule our department heads, come back with that update, so that the goal is scheduled for July.
Mhm.
Okay, we're going to come back with, even though we figured that we'll go with those set questions, is that what we decided?
I think we come back with, what,
So, okay, so come back with your, yeah, because I would like your ideas, I'll type these out as questions that I'm coming with, but I'm like, I'm great, so come back with, questions that we would like to, present to the, community partners, at the July full cap meeting. We're going to review our, work plan and vote on it that I added. And then I have a question. I would like to know, no, I think Susan, I think she said she doesn't work there anymore. Is that correct, Susan?
She works for the public defender's office.
I think she said she no longer works for the, was it HIP?
Right, HIP. She's no longer with HIP.
So I would like to, know more about that. I think we'd like to know more about that program. What is that program?
So we want to update from HIP.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe a presentation or something of that nature.
Yes.
Okay,
Monique's gonna share the PowerPoint with the recommendations, and I'm gonna update it to reflect a more current presentation for the department.
correct. Yes.
And I should be able to share that out well in advance of the next few days, so you guys can review it. Right?
Did you get all of that, Monique?
I did. Yes.
Okay, awesome. So if there is nothing else, am I able to adjourn at, I can see that, 12:22?
Yes, it is 12:22 and you can adjourn. Absolutely.
Okay, so we will adjourn to our next policy and budget subcommittee meeting, which will be held on June 16th from 11 to 12:30. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks.